Hi, grade 3. How are you guys? I hope you guys are all well. In today's video, our lesson is going to be about the simple present tense. Last time we talked about the past tense. This time we are going to talk about the present tense. So please follow along and pay attention. These sentences all have a verb in the present tense. You can see it highlighted in pink. For example, my watch keeps good time. Keeps. The referee blows the whistle. Blows. Lemon is always sour. Is. Remember, is a verb to be in the present form. So keeps, blows, and is. So, when do we use the simple present form? We use it when we want to say facts. For example, I live in Poland. Live is in the present tense. Or I am Lebanese. That's a fact. When we want to talk about habits and routines, usually these sentences, they have words like every day, usually, sometimes, never, seldom, rarely, always, okay? They swim every day, okay? So that's a habit. It's something that's done daily, okay? I usually wake up at 9 o'clock, okay? Wake. That's a present tense verb. We also use it to talk about our feelings and emotions, okay? They like pizza. I don't say they like pizza. They like pizza. Or she likes school, okay? So that's a verb in the present tense to talk about your feelings and emotions. And we use it to talk about general truth. For example, Sunday comes after Saturday. That's a truth. No one can argue with that. Okay, we can say Earth is a planet. That's also a general truth. Okay, we can say there are 8 planets in the solar system. Are. That's a verb in the present tense. Okay, so here we have comes, like, swim, live. These are verbs in the present tense. Now, this is very, very important. Now, with the pronouns he, she, and it, we add sometimes an s or an es or an ies to the present tense verb. Again, only with he, she, and it. Okay? We do not add an s or an es or an ies with the pronouns I, you, we, and they. Okay? For example, I say, I live in Nicosia. I don't add an s, I don't say I lives. Okay? Always with the pronoun I, you, we, and they. You don't use present tense verbs with an s or an es or an ies. The s, es, and ies are only for the pronouns he, she, and it. Okay? So you can see many examples here. We say he cooks, she cooks, it cooks. Okay? But if I want to say I don't say I cooks. I cook, you cook, we cook, they cook. Okay? So, for most of the verbs with he, she, and it only, we add an s. We add an es if the present tense verb ends with an o, a ch, an sh, an x, a double z, or a double s. So here we need to add an es, but we only add an es if I'm using the pronoun again he, she, and it. I say it buzzes, okay? I don't say it buzz. With the pronoun it, I need to change the verb and add either depending on its ending, okay? If it ends with O, CH, SH, X, double Z, or double S, you have to add an ES. Now, when do I add an IES? I add an IES whenever the verb ends with a consonant and a Y. like carry, R-Y. R is a consonant and Y. I cross out the Y and I add an I-E-S, okay? So, for most of the present tense verb, we usually add an S. For some of them, we add an ES, and for some of them, we add an IES. So it's very important to know that if the subject is singular, like he, she, and it, or any singular subject, like my dad, or my brother, or the teacher, or the car, okay, you have to add an S to the present tense verb. So if there's no S in the subject, that means you add an S to the verb, okay? They're the opposite of each other. And if there's an S in the subject, that means you remove the S from the verb, okay? For example, you say they is plural, okay? They is a lot of subjects, okay? It's like you have an S, you have a plural. They love. You don't say they loves, you remove the S. For example here, the boy, there's no S, so we have to add an S to the verb. Feeds his cat twice a day. My brothers, there's an S, feed their cats twice a day. I remove the S from the present tense verb. This is called subject-verb agreement, okay? That means if the subject is singular, so you have to find the subject. If it's singular, you have to add an S to the present tense verb. If the subject is plural, then you don't add an S, you remove the S, okay? For example, the cars, I don't say the cars stops, the cars stop. I remove the S because it's a plural subject. This is a very, very important rule to know. So I put some examples here about do you choose the present tense verb with the S or without the S. The most important thing is to look at the subject and ask yourself, is the subject singular? If it's singular, the verb has to carry an S. If the subject is plural, then the verb does not carry the S. Everyone, we count it as singular, okay? Everyone, because there's one, everyone likes her mother, okay? So you have to add an S because it's singular. Ahmad is singular, so we have to add an S. Represents. He is singular, so we choose which verb. He agrees. Those famous male singers, okay? The simple subject is singers. Singers is plural, so you choose the verb without an S. Appear. The movie is singular, so you have to choose the verb with the S. Starts. The fishermen, men, okay, that's plural because there's men. So it's plural, so you choose the verb without the S. The fishermen catch. You don't say the fisherman catches. This is very important to know, especially when you're writing your paragraphs or sentences, because many of you make a mistake in this, okay? This is called subject-verb agreement. So these are three verbs you need to know in the present tense. Of course, the verb to be, we took it last time. In the present tense, I am, you are, he, she, it is, and we, you, and they are, okay? Now, the verb to do, you only use do with I, you, we, and they, okay? So I do. And you only use does with he, she, and it, okay? He does, she does. I don't say he do, it do, okay? Does is used, so it should carry an S because it's singular, okay? He, she, and it does. Even when you're asking a question, for example, does she like school? You don't say do she like school, okay? So does and is and has are used for he, she, and it, okay? Have, of course, you only use it for I, you, we, and they, for plural subjects. And do is used for I, you, we, and they, okay? Again, this is the rules for the do verb and the has or have, okay? You only use does with he, she, and it, even when you're asking a question, okay? Do they? Do I? That's a question form, okay? Do we? Does he? Does she? Does it? Okay, you only use has with he, she, and it. And have with I, we, you, and they. You don't say I has or we has or you has. Okay, so please be careful when using these verbs. The verbs to be, the verb to do, and has. Also, remember the contractions, okay, when you're writing I am. We took these. This is just a reminder for the contractions. I am, I'm, you are, your, okay? So it's the apostrophe R-E. He is, he's, she's, it's, we're, that means we are, your, you are, there, they are, okay? So just a reminder of these contractions for verbs to be in the simple present form. This is also an exercise for using the present tense verb, okay? So if there's we, that's plural. So you have to say we have. They is plural. They are. Lebanon, that's singular, is. You look at the subject and you decide if it's singular or plural. The students, it's plural. So have. Okay, I is an exception. Okay, you don't say sorry, you say I have, okay? I is an exception. You have to use have with I as well, even though it's singular, okay? They, that's plural, they do. She, singular, does. The ponies, plural, do. So the only exception for has or have is I, okay? And even when for do and does, okay? Even though I is singular, I don't say I does, I do, okay? So be careful with the pronoun I. So again, with he, she, and it, these are called third person singular. Sometimes we add an S to the verb. If the verb ends with a vowel and a Y, you just also add an S as well. Vowel and Y add S. Consonant and Y, cross out the Y and add IES. If the verb ends with an O, a double S, a CH, an SH, an X, a Z, or a double Z, then you add an ES. Remember, we only do this with the pronouns he, she, and it. Here are some more exercises. For example, Tom is singular, so you have to choose Tom tidies, the IES, okay? The verb that carries an SES or IES when you have a singular subject. We is plural, so no S. We listen. Mary is singular, watches. The girls is plural, so no S. Play. That's in the exception. I use it as if it's with the plural. Okay, I swim. They do, because they is plural. Also here, there's some more practice for you. It's very important to look at the ending of the verb and to decide which rule it follows, okay? To decide whether you need to add an S or an ES, okay? It all depends on the ending of the verb. For example, here they're asking you to change the subject. If you change the subject, then you have to change the present tense verb. Sometimes you have to remove the S or ES or IES. Sometimes you have to add, okay? For example, it was Kate. If you want to make it you don't say I likes, you have to change the verb. I like. We go, but if you say Sam, Sam goes. The boys play, but if you say Tom is the subject, Tom plays. You have to add an S. Now, for do or does, when you're asking a question, you also have to look at what's coming after the do or does, singular or plural, okay? Kate is singular, so does. You, do, we say do you, okay? You is also an exception. We always use it as if it's plural, okay? Tom, singular, does. They, plural, do. For this exercise, you have to decide, is the sentence a simple present sentence or a simple past? Now there are clues. I tried to highlight the clues that would help you, okay? If it's something like an hour ago or last week or last Monday or yesterday or last month, okay, or last week, that would be of course in the past. And if you have the clues, usually, sometimes, always, seldom, these are clues that the sentence is in the present tense form. So look at the clue and change the verb in brackets according to whether it's a simple present or simple past. Here you have to choose which verb to be fits in, okay? We have is, am, those are and are in the present, was and were are in the past. Some of them are for singular subjects, some of them are for plural subjects. So you have to look at the subject and you have to know whether it's in the present or past to decide which verb to be fits in. For numbers 1, 2, and 3, you have to change the verb in the sentence from present to past. And sometimes there are things you have to remove, okay? For example, the student usually puts his book on the desk, okay? If I want to make it the past of puts is put, of course, but I don't, so I have to put it in the past tense. The student, I have to remove usually because usually doesn't go with the past. So I would say the student put his book on the desk. So you remove the word usually, and the past tense of put is put. Remember, it stays the same. Okay, so sometimes there are things you have to remove if it's clues about the present tense, okay? So change anything you need to change in order to make it a sentence in the past. For D, I want you to write your own sentences. So follow the directions and write these 3 sentences according to what I'm asking you. Okay, thank you for listening.